Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show. This week is a pre-recorded show, so you won't be able to ask questions this time around, but we wanted to get today's guests on, and in order to do so, we had to pre-record. But today's topic is a very important topic. We're going to be talking with Michael Kilpatrick, whose family has been directly impacted by local government, and they were shut down for a time. We're going to have him tell the whole story. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up is that just like with the raw milk in North Carolina issue back about 2 months ago, we within the community of natural health, whole foods, all of this realm that God's Good Table is involved in, that Weston A. Price Foundation and others are involved in, we rely upon local food, properly grown food, clean food, whole food, and that doesn't come, for the most part, from a grocery store shelf. And so keeping the avenues open for us to be able to access food from our local farmers or food from our local co-op store or health food store, but the foods that we wish for our bodies and for that of our children, for our health and wellness. This topic is super, super critical. And I would dare say it's never been more critical than now, even with the Make America Healthy movement and the current administration making promises and making changes. We have to fight hard. And so to that end, I want to bring to you my friend, Michael Kilpatrick from Farm on Central. Hello, Michael. Oh.
Can you hear me now? How about that?
Does help if I unmute you. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, but I hope that it is to all of our listeners as well, because as I stated in the intro, things that happen, such as have happened on your farm, your market, and others across the country, and in other parts of the world too, but specifically the U.S. This has a direct impact on all of us. And what happens, I believe, happens by design. So we want to be able to turn things around. We want you to thrive, your customers to thrive, our farms across the country to thrive, so that we all can be healthy and strong and just have the freedom of choice. But before we get rolling, I first would like for you to tell us a little bit about your farm story, how you came to be, you in Savannah with your family. What brought you to doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I've been actually farming in agriculture since 2003. So that's while ago.
Yeah, you don't get old enough for that.
Yeah. So yeah, we started our farm in upstate New York back then, and we ran that farm for about a decade, called the Kilpatrick Family Farm. We by the end of the time we were up there, we were managing about 500 acres, doing about 25 acres of organic vegetables, certified organic vegetables, and selling at several farmers markets and employing about 20 folks. Yeah, so that's what kept us pretty busy. We shut that down in 2015 when my wife and I had our first child and moved to Ohio. And we did some consulting and just various other jobs until about 2020 when we purchased this property, which is the Farm on Central. So, you know, we bought property within the city limits, and that gave us a host of issues, mainly a lot of regulation and things that can be done there because so, you know, dealing with that. And then we also we realized that our customers just didn't want raw vegetables. They wanted prepared foods. And so everything from just taking corn and shucking it and putting that in the store to, you know, salsas and pickles and black garlic and even like sourdough bread and all of that. So over the, you know, as we started growing, we started, you know, wanting to add those in, and there is significant regulation around that. So that's, at that point is when we kind of discovered the whole private membership association aspect of things. And we said, well, let's try this route. And, you know, for a while it did work. In fact, you know, the ODA got in contact with us multiple times about things that they were not happy with. But because we were a PMA, we just kind of gave them some documentation, and they were not happy about that. and they threatened to come back with their enforcers, but they never did. So, again, we thought we were good to go. And unfortunately, we started to running into issues with the county. I guess they claim that someone submitted an anonymous, not a complaint, but an anonymous, are these people supposed to be inspected? So we, again, don't know who that is. We will be following up on that. Again, there's things we're working on around that. So we will be doing a little bit pursuant of kind of, more information about what went on there and what caused that. So again, we sent them our PMA information, wrote them a letter. There was some back and forth. They turned us over to the prosecutor, Warren County prosecutor. We went back and forth with them. We thought we were good to go. We thought, we'd submitted the documentation. And then, we'd just finished strawberry season. So thank God this didn't happen during strawberry season. We just finished strawberry season, which is about, 25% of our farm's income. And
Wow.
the Monday after that, I got a call from my lawyer, and he's like, hey, you got something. He said, you need to kind of figure out what's going on here. He said, I don't deal with this type of law. He's a property lawyer, not I don't know what kind of lawyer we needed for this, but more of a general lawyer is what we needed for this. But they were gonna, they were trying to get there's two different types of TROs. A TRO is a temporary restraining order. There's one where they just go before the judge and they say, Judge, I want to restrain this business. And the judge said, okay, fine, here you go. You can go, deliver this to the customer, or not the customer, sorry, the person. What that really came down to, they didn't grant that, which is kind of interesting. So he made us come to a hearing for the other type of TRO, which is kind of a hearing where both sides present, evidence or facts or information. We didn't really present that much information. But that is where, at that hearing, and that hearing went on for multiple hours because they had all their evidence that they had to submit, which we found, again, we'll get into, there's a lot of problems with that evidence. But at the end of that, he said he was going to grant a TRO, which we didn't really understand what that meant until it came out the next day. And the TRO that they put out, and this is really where it comes down to, I think it really comes to scary. It wasn't even the products that they claim are a hazard, like just time and temp sensitive. So let's say you cut up a melon and put it in a container. They claim that's time and temp sensitive because, in that process of cutting the raw melon, you're introducing bacteria and people get sick. Another time and sensitive item would be like a fresh salsa or like a cheesecake because, that needs to be kept cold for food safety.
Right.
Things that aren't time and temp sensitive would be like fresh sourdough bread. Even though you don't want to eat it after a week, it's probably not going to, get you sick and kill you.
Right.
So their TRO put all food. They basically shut us down 100% completely.
Yeah.
And they claim that it was a misunderstanding that they would be okay with us, selling, non-time and temp sensitive food. But again, there's been some great investigative journalism out there. If you go to, I think it's the Ohio Press Network, but Lisa, not Lisa, anyway, I'll find the article and I'll get it to you so you can link to it. But she did actually 3 different articles on this. And she said, and again, the guy that Jack, the guy who runs that network, Jack, actually did a Facebook post where he tagged both the health department and the prosecutor's office and said, this is at best sloppy work, at worst criminal misconduct.
Whoa. Wow.
So, anyway, yes, we're following up on that. But with a TRO, and again, we had a lot of different advice. And again, we have, and I know a couple of different folks like John Moody. We talked to John. We talked to the lawyer out of Florida. I'm just
Pete Kennedy
right now. You know who he is, Pete.
Yeah,
Kennedy. And some of the advice was just completely ignore the TRO. And so when they throw you in jail, then the people will really get upset, and that's going to be good press. I got 4 kids. We don't have deep pockets. If I had deep pockets and it was me and my wife, or I was single, I'd be like, sure, throw me in jail for civil disobedience, selling people food.
Yeah.
But we kind of we also don't want to put out the aspect that even though it may have been with going out of their authority, we didn't also want to just, tick off the prosecutor's office either.
Mhm.
So, again, we try to play by the rules. Again, we try all the legal, so the private membership association, which we had set up, to us, that was a legal avenue for us to offer our product directly to a private person without the government being involved.
Right.
Judge didn't see it that way. People say we could have just run it up the food chain, but again, we talked to some pretty large constitutional lawyers in Ohio. Some of the people that they basically litigate Constitution all day, and their advice to us was, Michael, unfortunately, the Private Membership Association really doesn't have the standing here in this situation. They said in other areas there is some, there would be other states, maybe even there's some legality there, but here, especially in Ohio, there's already been case law that's been decided against private memberships. So you're kind of up a creek without a paddle. And so his advice to us was, he's like, look, just get back open, do what you have to do, and then let's go fight this at the legislator level, which is kind of where we are now. So
okay.
So
yeah,
anyway,
that private membership in Pennsylvania, that held up repeatedly in court. Now I'm not in Pennsylvania anymore. I just keep in touch with people. I'm sure that the powers that be there are probably trying to and possibly have reversed that. I don't know, but
so again, so that was one of the things, is basically the statute has no carve out, is what their reasoning was, is there's no carve out. There's carve out for this. There's a carve out for this. There's a carve out for this. It doesn't have a carve out. Now, is it a jurisdiction thing? Because people would say that it's a private membership, that you're private, that the Warren County Health is a public health aspect. The question. So some big things in this case too that we got to look at. Is they supposedly came out and did a raid, not a raid, but kind of like a sting, where they came and bought products in our store. That was in April. They waited 60 days before they actually submitted for the TRO. If we were a danger to the public health, what the heck were they doing waiting 60 days? They should have gone home, got the police, and come back and shut us down. But they waited 60 days. So in all honesty, this really wasn't that big of a public health issue. I think someone got upset and someone said something, and they're like, okay, fine, we have to do something. And so that's where it happened. So again, that's part of something we're trying to figure out, and we'll get some more information on all of that. But and some of the things they got us on were like, our food wasn't labeled properly, didn't have the properly declared allergens. Well, no, it listed all ingredients by diminishing amount. It just didn't have what they construe as the proper allergen statement. They were upset about the fact that they didn't know if certain things had been prepared properly. So they didn't temp things. Well, in all our coolers, we have a temperature monitors that they could have looked at if they had looked closer. In fact, they're all available. One of the things, they're all available on our phone. We have all our coolers, tracked on our phone. And actually, I'm going to pull it up right here and show you one of the trackers right here. So this is right here. So this right here is actually one of our retail trackers right there. And you can see that during the night, it holds right around 39 degrees. You can see when they stocked it, right about 10 o'clock, they stocked it, and they went up, right? And then during the day, right now, you can see that people keep opening the door and the temperature drops.
Yes.
Now, that is the warmest place of that cooler, so you are going to see it pop above. 41 is what they say the legal limit for food is. It used to be 45, but then they downgraded it because, again, science decided that it needed to be 41. I personally like a little E. coli in my food. I think it keeps the immune system healthier.
That is actually every organism does actually have a purpose. It's when it's out of balance.
Correct. Right. So yes, let's sidestep that a little bit, because again, I'm sure some health department, someone is going to watch this and pull this out of context. Let's pull this back into context. is that right now we have an irrigation well that actually about a month ago tested positive for chloroform. And again, not supposed to be. So, again, we did our thing where we shocked it, and we will be retesting it. The water does not go on the leaves of vegetables. It's only for subterranean irrigation. So it'd be fine. Again, no one's going to get sick off of it.
Yeah.
I personally drink that water anytime I'm over there. I personally am fine because again, a good immune system, a properly managed immune system should be able to fight off some of these low things. And it comes back to, is it the terrain theory or is it, what's the other theory?
Germ theory or terrain theory.
Germ theory or terrain
and
theory.
I land solidly on terrain, as obviously you do as well.
Correct. And the data that we look at and all that show that, a healthy immune system is going to be introduced to these sort of things. And so that's when, if we look at like the history of polio, we look at the history of chickenpox and all of that, people that got exposed to that in small amounts, they would get sickness, they would move through it. I mean, polio pretty much disappeared before we had the vaccines for that.
And I would even argue there that polio was it wasn't the virus itself that was causing it, if there was such a thing, but the arsenic and other chemicals that were being sprayed everywhere. And farmers were going into literal baths of flea killer for their livestock. That, I believe, is what was making people sick.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we've done the pendulum has swung way too far.
Yes.
And again, here's the thing with the whole thing is no one got sick. There was never a complaint against us. And this is something we asked in the thing is like, do you have a complaint? No. We had someone who asked if you were inspected. There was never anyone who submitted a complaint we didn't get anyone sick. And again, we can talk whether the legality of what they do or not do is thing. But what I can say is that the levels of government intervention in our lives directly impact the cost of our food by about 20% at least.
Wow.
So
that's huge.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely huge.
And unnecessary.
Absolutely. So here's a great example. And the other thing too, not only the cost, but the to market time. So obviously in industry, they talk about time to market. Like, the computer program there is going to take 8 weeks for us to develop it. So we're back in the peach season. We're in the tomato season, corn season. I wanted to get salsas in the store. And so in the past, we've been like, get the recipe to the team, they go for it. Well, no, it's now the recipe has to go to the health inspector. The health inspector has to talk about it. Health inspector has to get back to us, say the problems with the recipe. We have to rework the recipe. They have to approve the label back to us. And then finally we can start producing it. That takes about, 10 days to 2 weeks. Because again, these bureaucrats seem to have all the vacation time in the world. And they're all the time on vacation. And it's not like you can just find somebody else. It's your inspector that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with that. But back to the cost, here's a really good example. And this is specific to Ohio. I know other states are very different on this. So for us to put fresh chicken in our store, it has to be either state or federally inspected. It cannot be, the on-farm exemption does not allow for them to piece and part it or even sell us whole birds. The only exemption in Ohio for them to sell whole birds is directly on their farm to the consumer. So again, it costs $4 to kill the bird. It costs another 90 cents per pound to cut it up. Then it costs another $1 or $2 to vacuum seal it. And here's the thing: is they only use chlorine as a cleaner. They don't. Yeah, I know. So we're using a cleaner which no one wants to have on their food. The other aspect is you're not guaranteed your feet and your livers back. Is literally the largest one that's an hour and a half from us, and they're booked till October. So again, you really can't get it in. That's months out to get booked. Is they have a clear statement on their website. We do not guarantee your feet and your parts back, your livers, your hearts, that sort of thing back. So I mean,
and when you're raising food so intentionally, you want your feet,
absolutely,
your livers, your gizzards, and all of that back.
Oh, absolutely.
Who writes about this? I'm looking to see. I think it's on my downstairs shelf, not up here. Joel wrote Everything I Want to Do is Illegal, and one of the chapters is the 1,000-mile chicken.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great chapter. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So on that one, the statute of limitations had expired, so we could talk about it. But it is one of those things, and this is what it gives me white hair. And I feel bad for our customers. Like, sorry guys, but the cost of chicken just went up yet again. And so at this point, we're to the point of, and again, I would say give us 2 or 3 years, but we're probably going to open our own protein farm just so that we can do our own, so we can process on farm and sell product.
As Joel does now, but your regulations in Ohio are going to be different than in Virginia.
Well, so that's the next step. And so that's kind of where this journey goes. Is so again, we got partially reopened. The prosecutor sent the judge a note and said, we voluntarily feel like the language in this is a little overzealous.
You think?
And what the wording was this: we would not hold Mr. Kilpatrick in contempt if he did X. But anyway, between all that, we sort of text out to our customers and say, guys, we're shut down. We can't sell food. Just come get food for free. Because here's the other thing, is if this was truly dangerous, why can we give it away? But we were able to give away all this food. We shut the town down. There was people parking all, across the street. I mean, there was a line 100 people long out our driveway of people just literally coming to get food. I actually haven't, I got to figure out the date on that. I hope the computer did not eat that footage, because that was literally one of the coolest video shots that we have a camera system on the farm that could pull up, a time lapse of all that. That would be really, really cool.
Oh, I would love to see that. Yeah. So if you can get that, we'll post that along with. Yeah.
So we gave her out over $7,000 worth of food in just like an hour and a half. We literally had so many people come, we had to put another text out and said, sorry guys, just turn around. There's no more food left. But yeah, we gave away all that food. The next day, the prosecutor walked it back. We were partially reopened, able to just sell our own produce and stuff. And then basically the next week we were supposed to have a hearing, and basically based on the legal counsel, we talked, to a bunch of all the people. It just made let's just say we're going to comply and then fight this at the state level is what it comes down to. So that's why that's what we did. We kind of went under a farm market exemption, used that as the exemption, got to reopen, and then we got to reopen with 100 cubic feet of prepackaged safe food. So we were literally out there with tape measures, measuring. Nope, got to get rid of that. Can't sell that. Or I can have one loaf of bread out at a time. So we couldn't sell milk. We couldn't sell meat. We couldn't sell things like cider, all those things, even if they're commercially packaged, because they were time and temp sensitive. Even though we have the coolers, but the thing is, the coolers didn't have what they called a washable, cleanable surface, because we had some areas of the cooler that were pressure treated wood. Now, pressure treated wood is inert to a whole bunch of stuff, because there's all sorts of nasty things in that anyway.
Yes.
And again, we were okay with it being in the cooler because it's the newer type of it's wood. It doesn't have arsenic in it. It wasn't touching the food. It was multiple feet away from the food. But again, according to them, so we had to buy paint that was $250 a gallon and coat the entire. Now, again, the inside of the cooler is much nicer. It's beautiful. It's a big, beautiful cooler now. But again, it's just one of those things that we had to do before we could get reopened. So we went ahead and did that. Again, we passed the inspection with flying colors because, again, we know what we're doing with food safety. The biggest complaint they had was our dumpsters. We had a little too much grass around them. So we had to rework that. Again, that was an upgrade that's just nice for us anyway. So it was a nice upgrade. Another thing we had to do was city water. Now, to be a level 1 where we were only selling prepackaged food, we did not need to do the water. But for us to bring our certified kitchen back on site, which is what we need to wash the bowls for our slushie machine, literally, in order for us to offer slushies, we had to use city water to wash the bowls and have a plumbing inspection on the 3-bay sink. So we're still not open for that. I remember
reading about that and thinking, I was thinking about how often public water supplies shut down because of contamination, and somehow that's safer.
I mean, again, I'm just listening to the government here, Maureen.
Yes.
They're here to protect my safety.
Because they're here to protect us. And
they
that,
have such a good track record.
Oh, excellent track record. Yes. So we all should trust them with no issue, right? And of course, something like installing a public water supply and changing all of that system, it doesn't cost very much money, does it?
Oh, no, only $20,000.
Yeah, that's what I was remembering. Oh, my goodness.
Now,
wow.
to be very transparent, we could have continued to use our well, but we would have had to go through an entire EPA regulated process, which would have taken over 90 days. And we would have had to have quarterly testing from a certified level 1 public water person. And we found someone local. He would have done it. He would have been very cheap. He's like, Michael, I can do it. But in all honesty, it's going to be way easier if you just spend the $20,000 and never have to think about it again. Other than we'll have to put in a water softener / get rid of resin system. And the problem with these resin systems that will pull out the chloride and the fluoride is that a lot of cities won't allow them because they dump concentrated chloride and fluoride back into the sewer. And wait a minute, but now these items, now they're concentrated, are harmful again.
Yeah. And they're going back into the public water supply where they're adding more still.
Yes. Anyway, so it's one of those things that's like, wait a minute. And you're like, oh, this makes no sense at all.
Do you ever just think that maybe there are too many bureaucrats trying to earn a living off our backs? And
I mean, don't get me started there. But I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I'm in local politics, so I'm on our city council, and I see how the sausage is made, and they don't like small business. They like chains. They like big industrial businesses because they are easier to manage, and they don't cause problems. And it's interesting that there is no, let's say, like, oh, if you do your job well and you meet all these things, you will get a pay raise. It's like, oh, well, your step allows for a pay increase every single year. And pretty much as long as you don't rock the boat and get in trouble, you're going to get the pay raise.
Wow.
So there's no, in city and in government work, it's all about, they deserve the highest pay out there. And so they're just going to work their way up after a set amount of time. And, again, I do not, there's dedicated public servants in any line of work. Again, I'm technically a public servant because I get paid my $400 a month as city council, pay. So again, I'd like to think there's people out there that want to do a good job. It's just, I think, again, there are people, a lot of them have a very set view that they've been indoctrinated in the schools and in the systems and in how they go about it. I hear stories all the time. So Franklin Township, we technically live in Franklin Township, even though we're in the city of Carlisle. Well, Franklin Township, the manager there, even after computers came out, even after copiers came out, refused to allow computers and copiers into the Franklin Township. And they still made, until a certain year, they still made everyone copy everything by hand.
That's counterproductive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But here's the thing. No one fired her. She had managers. And over at Franklin Township, it's trustees, 3 trustees, and the trustees never got rid of the person that was doing this. So, one thing is you have people who don't want to grow a backbone and won't want to rock the boat. But here's the thing, Maureen, I mean, again, not to push conspiracy theories here, but we have I don't know what to say, ecosystem or a world or a global order that has decided that, we're going to Netflix and chill everybody. And so, we basically create content through sports, through entertainment, through, and it's all marketed very, very well to us to distract us from what's actually going on around us. I just learned the other day that the next town over, and actually we left this town partially for this reason, they passed a levy to fund the school that makes, even when you get an inheritance, that inheritance gets taxed and put into the school levy. And people were aghast that this happened, but they never read it when it got passed. So it's one of those things where, again, our culture has dumbed us down to the aspect that we don't even know how to change a tire, or we don't even know basic food safety. If you went to any kid graduating from Carlisle School, and actually I should do it sometime, is go down there to a high school group and say, hey, what's the temperature for pork? What's the safe cooking temperature for pork? What's the safe cooking temperature for ground beef? None of them, I would say, I would guarantee you, I'd put money on it, that none of them would know the temps.
Right. They wouldn't. And most people would not.
And that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because, granted, there's a lot of food safety issues. And again, the food safety challenges that are out there happen in these big, large, conglomerates. Like
I was going to say that. Thank you. Yes.
The recent big one was this listeria outbreak that was at a plant that produced Boar's Head. And again, Boar's Head is one of the higher quality brands.
Yes.
We'll eat it on occasion. It's supposedly not mystery meat. But at that plant, they were getting up to 12 violations a day from the on-site inspector, and nothing was done. This thing went on for 3 months. And it killed multiple people, sent scores of people to the hospital. And again, the food safety violations were happening for years before they actually ended up shutting this down. And they never shut it down until people started dying left and right of listeria. So,
that is insane, isn't it?
It's just not small independent farms, again, like us.
Which are very easy to trace, by the way. If there's an issue and it's coming from a local food source or a co-op, it's very easy to find the source, and it will be very limited because you're not selling nationwide.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, which I think is really important, is that because we were a private membership, people had to sign up. They had to give us their address, their phone number, their email. And when they came in, we would put every single purchase underneath their account. So if, for some reason, we had an issue, all we have to do is these are the list of people that bought this product, get on the phone and call them. And within an hour, we could have had all that product, discarded or back onto the farm if we had to. Compared to a Kroger, who someone walks in, pays cash, it's gone. Person will die, and no one will be able to track it down.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah. It's all back, Maureen, it's back to control. Is they want control.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's control.
And the people who fund these organizations, the Krogers, the Albertsons, the large industrial meat and producers, because they want to keep the small people off, because again, they're looking for, the grocery business is a cutthroat business. They are trying to keep their margins as healthy as profitable.
But the odd thing to me that seems logical is that no matter what, in our current society, most people, the vast majority of people, are still going to go to the grocery store because it's convenient. Yeah. So the little bit of market share that people like you take, it really shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter. But again, Maureen, I have bigger aspirations. I want to see a farm like ours in every single corner, because then it will be more convenient. And again, we used to do farmers markets back in New York. That was our bread and butter. We did a great job at farmers markets. And Joel used to castigate farmers markets. And I got so mad at him one time about it. But now that I'm here at the farm in Ohio, and we have a 5-day-a-week retail store, the idea of going to a farmer's market is the last thing I want to go do. We have 400 customers a week that come into our store, buy our product, as well as 30 other vendors' products. We stock from 30 different vendors. We are able to keep the product better quality.
Yes.
So a bag of lettuce can, we have a shelf life of 7 days. At a farmer's market, if you didn't sell it that day, you were done. It went bye-bye.
Yeah.
So, we were able to do much better quality. We don't have vehicles on the road. We don't have to deal with, employees running into other vehicles and, setting up and breaking down from a farmer's market. It's a consistent thing. We have people that travel up to an hour to come to the farm and buy stuff consistently. Every single week they travel.
But let me pause just for a moment there, because even as you're talking about all of this, I'm thinking about another aspect that is very important too. And that is that your little enterprise in Ohio is helping support providing livelihoods for 30 other vendors.
Correct.
And you have employees.
Yeah. So we have a staff of about 22. I mean, again, there's part-timers in there, but it's about 8 full-time people that work here at the farm.
And so why would we want to be cutting back on that? I mean, why would we want to hurt that?
Again, for someone that got no one sick, we waited 60 days to deal with this. Yes. Why would we want to, other than we want to make an example out of this farm, and we want to punish them because they don't listen.
And that's what I have seen for the last 25 years, starting in Pennsylvania, one farm raid after another, Ohio, Canada, can't even get started on Canada, but all across the nation, California, Ohio, Pennsylvania have been hot spots for sure, but Florida, the Carolinas.
So yeah, I mean, I don't want to. We don't need to belabor this. I mean, I think the aspect is there is food overreach in the food industry happening all across the U.S. I think there's also some bright spots. I mean, Maine has passed some really cool legislation.
Yeah, for a long time too, and they've done well with it.
Well, the only problem with that is what I believe is the state said we're going to kick it down to the counties or down to the actual cities, and the cities then have to pass something. So it wasn't like a statewide, let's say like Tennessee passed something that was relatively good. I believe Idaho and Montana have 2 of the most free bills right now of just like you can do pretty much anything you want. I mean, raw milk, I believe out there can go on the grocery store shelves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some awesome stuff going on in some states. I mean, and that's what's going on right now. So that's the way forward for us in Ohio is there is a cottage law that's being worked up. It's gotten through the House. It's headed to the Senate. I've got an email in my inbox. I need to respond and kind of start working with some of the legislative aides on that, getting something that would allow, we're going to try to attach on some sort of like private membership aspect to that bill to add another level of freedom. It might work. It might not work. Unfortunately, the organization that all the health departments are a part of, this like industry thing, is all over this bill. And they have like 25 different issues with it. So we have to kind of like do that. So we might wait till after they have signed off on it to slip in this last little thing. Again, because we know that works. That works on nation in Washington all the time. Mm-hmm. So why can't we use that too? So we'll see what we can do. But I mean, again, it comes back to me is that an informed citizen should be able to source food from their local farmer without the government being involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I believe the country was founded on. It's freedom.
Yeah.
And not paying a tea tax.
And it's how the world has worked from the beginning of time. Local food, direct farm to consumer, farmers markets, open markets. And if having access to this kind of food was actually harming people, we would have figured it out thousands of years ago.
Correct.
Because people do figure out pretty quickly if something is causing illness.
Yes. Like you only eat a mushroom once in a lot of places.
That's true. I picked mushrooms once after homeschool basketball, and one of the moms and her daughter were out picking mushrooms after a rain, and I said, "Oh, I'm leery about mushrooms." Yes. I wanted to pick them. I said, I'll pick some too, but I'll wait until tomorrow to eat them when I know that you're still alive.
Yeah. I was on a consult down in somewhere in Asheville area, I think, and we walked into the woods, and like we kept seeing these orange mushrooms, and it turns out that literally we had stumbled upon acres of chanterelles. It was incredible.
Wow.
Yes, they were all over the entire hillside that we were on. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, it comes back to that is, you know, and here's the thing. If you want to buy food that has the Warren County Health stamp on it, you can do that. I am not forcing you in any way
Yeah.
to buy my food. It's a choice. And, you know, I think that's the thing is that, like, I'm okay if they put on the sign out there, not inspected by the Department of Agriculture or whatever. And I bet I'd have a line of people going, hey, I want to be, tell me more about this. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Because, again, we're able to offer food cheaper, better quality. And, you know, when you're hamstrung,
and it's fresh.
Yes, fresher. When you're hamstrung by the government, there's a complete level of, as we said, delay and cost that goes along with it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I want fresh food. I want clean food. I don't want food sprayed with chlorine to sanitize it.
Yes.
And I want to know the source of my food. That's really important to me. And that's the whole food freedom fight. It's so that we as a consumer can have access to the foods of choice. And you as the farmer or provider can earn a living by providing us. It's this beautiful symbiotic relationship that is completely destroyed when you're going to the grocery store and buying from large corporations.
Yeah, because here's the thing. In the food industry, it's the race to the bottom. Is if you go to any McDonald's, you have people who do not want to be there. They are typically from it's their first job. It's just, you know, it's not a good situation. They don't care.
Right.
Let's put it that way. So they have to basically hire a mom who come in and manage them, which is the health inspector. And that's what they need it for. But in a farm where you have a farmer who loves what they do, who is proud of the product and wants to produce the best product possible, that's a completely different paradigm. And I think we need to recognize that, which they don't recognize. So, you know, I think that aspect just kind of has to be, you know, brought forward is, you know, what's the level of care here? I mean, again, when she came out to, you know, do the inspection, there's always like, there's questions they ask you. You're like, what's the safe temperature of food? I kind of looked at it like 41 degrees. I'm like, oh, good. I'm glad you knew that. I was like,
duh. Are you kidding me? Duh.
I can also tell you the pork temp, the chicken temp, the fish temp, the vegetable temp, the hot hold, the cold hold.
It's not rocket science, is it?
No. And then again, the problem is too, is we're going to disagree on some of those temps too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, we drink raw milk. I'm sure if they knew we had raw milk out in our CSA cooler, they would have flipped the lid, but there's nothing they can do because it's not their milk. It's not my milk. It's literally being held at a location and someone else owns it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that makes sense.
So yeah, but we haven't gotten into that cooler yet. But at this point, it's a private cooler for CSA members and it's not public. So now this is interesting is that we said CSA and they said, oh yeah, we don't inspect that. And so I kind of cocked my head a little bit, was like,
okay.
Interesting. And I didn't follow up because I wasn't going to poke the bear, but I probably will ask some interesting, you know, I'll ask some questions, you know, and just kind of understand what is their understanding and why did they say that?
As opposed to inspecting a private membership.
Correct, which they were very thinking that they were into. Now, they also, I think, and again, they may have, because they were saying a private membership was a Costco, you know, so they were saying we were operating like a Costco. I was like, no, we're not a Costco. You know, people have signed anyway. So I think that is something. And I think one of the other things too is that they really didn't read a lot of this because a lot of their documentation, when they basically did the legal document, they sued my wife, they sued me, they sued all of our businesses, even the businesses that weren't involved at all in this. And they sued our mortgage company.
Oh,
so they were trying to get our mortgage company in trouble too, which probably would have meant the mortgage company would have dropped us and we would have lost our house.
Which,
to me,
and they don't care.
They don't care.
It makes me so angry. They don't care.
Yeah, they would have chalked it up to, hey, we saved lives somewhere.
Yeah, really. Except that they didn't. Yes. That is crazy. Well, so what is next for you and your?
So again, it's a couple phase here. Obviously, we're trying to get back open, get our certified kitchen finished and finalized so that we can get back to doing slushies and other things at the farm. back to doing the prep of like, cut melon and that sort of stuff, which is ridiculous
Yeah.
that you need all these levels. But again, it is what it is. We
Yeah.
have a space that we're mostly finished on. We just need some final approvals on. So that's going to probably take till this fall. Again, the other aspect is we are working with some legislatures and stuff to try to work on some bills and stuff to get this more free in Ohio. And one of the interesting things they said is that we never really had a spokesperson that could actually come in and speak, eloquently and reasonably about this. And they said, when we were doing the hearing on this, we had a lady that came in and was talking a lot about soap. And I was like, well, that's not helpful at all. I said, yeah, you put me up on a stand and I can go on for 45 minutes, an hour, easy on any of these topics. You just tell me what you want and I'll speak it. Because that's just, one of my things I do, I guess. So I'm more than happy. And we can also help mobilize people too, because that was the other thing is they said we couldn't get anyone to turn out for this. And I was like, oh, we got you covered.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we can get a couple hundred folks there at the Capitol to really push this through. And I think that's the thing is I think a lot of assembly people and senators are open to this, but they also have the health people screaming down their throats as well, pushing down their throats. And again, they want to keep them happy because it's for the public safety. But if they listen to the people. And that was the interesting thing. I'll leave you with this here is that was the very interesting thing is that Lisa Murtha, who's the one who wrote the article for the Ohio Press Network, I think is what it's called. But if you type in Lisa Murtha, Farm on Central, it'll pop up. She finally got a hold of someone at the prosecutor's office. And the guy didn't even know what a private membership was, did not know much about the case, even though it had been all over the news. I was on 5 TV shows in 2 days. But he said, she asked, so why was this an overreaching TRO? And the guy said, well, I don't think they understood it. She said, she read him the language. She said, what does this mean to you? And he says, well, okay, fine. And he said, why do you think the judge walked this back and said this? And he says, well, I think because he had so many people calling and complaining.
Yeah.
And so
that's
I want to leave that with people is, look, sometimes you don't think your voice matters. It absolutely does. And back to the farmers that are listening to this is, look, if you're not building a community of people that will go to bat for you, you are not doing your job because not only are you growing food, but you are a leader of people trying to buy good food in your community. So focus on building that tribe. And some of the videos that we put out during this time, we had 1,000 shares.
Wow.
I mean, we had hundreds of thousands of reach on some of
our
videos. 750,000 reach.
It goes. And then people share, and then there are thousands more. That's really important. I give a talk occasionally titled Community Building Through Direct Farm and Consumer Relationships. Something like that. And that's one of my points. You build a relationship as a consumer with your farmer, and the farmer builds relationships with the community that they seek to support. And together you have strength. I know that you're going to take care of your people in a time of crisis, and they're going to reciprocate and do the same for you as they have. So the last point that I did want to cover was how we can help. So I'm not in Ohio. I'm in Virginia.
Yes.
What are some ways that any of us can help you and others in this kind of a situation, but directly right now, you?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is there's a website, say farmoncentral.com. They can go learn more about this. We haven't done a great job of updating it because we're farmers. We're growing food. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And we're trying to put on top of all this stuff on top of that. But go there, sign up for the text list because, again, it's just so you can get information. So next time we see some legislation, something move forward, we will text you on that. We also have another way you can support us is we do have an online shop where we sell like different plant materials and stuff. Shop there. That always helps us just keep our team busy and things moving through. Share again. Share again, and make your voice heard about this. If you are living in Ohio, make sure your representative knows that you think that food freedom is important, and you're for legislation to make it more easily more accessible for the average consumer.
Good. Okay, good. We want to support you in every way that we can. Obviously, you have both lost a significant amount of income when being shut down and in being limited. And at the same time, it has cost you a significant amount to try to comply and legal fees and all of that.
Yeah.
So we will put a link here for people to be able to help you in that regard.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm just going to say to everyone out there, we tend to think as Americans about our legislators, our lawmakers as a separate class of citizens. They do their job. That's their job. And we just kind of sit back for the most part and let them do their job. But we have to be actively involved. And I would really strongly encourage more people to consider get more involved by running for public office. And just like in this case, local public office is significantly important.
Yes. So when I ran for city council in our town, I spent about 5-6 hours knocking on doors, and I spent about $500 in flyers and mailers and that. And I won by a landslide. Now, granted, I did have public, people knew who we were because I did business in town and all of that. But I will say it's very easy. Township, city, trust, all those are very, very easy. Even state legislature does not really take that much. No, I couldn't. I've probably been blacklisted by our local Republicans. I've had too many problems. But now that I know kind of how all this works, I mean, like, it would not be that hard to be a state legislature or a congressperson. It's pretty easy to get on the state level. You're looking at maybe like, $10,000, $15,000 to make that happen. But yeah, I mean, I think we saw in the 2024 election just how people were ripe for change and made a massive difference. So I highly encourage folks to get involved. If not running, just hold them accountable. No public legislator wants to sit there and listen to a group of reasonable, well-informed constituents show them where they're wrong.
Yep, that's right. I show up monthly to county board of supervisor meetings and county commissioner meetings, that kind of thing. And I'm usually addressing another aspect. I'm on a board locally, but just that little bit of involvement is helpful. Showing up, having something to say in your 3-minute time period. But yeah, definitely holding people accountable. That is a very vitally important thing to be doing.
And that doesn't take much time. It literally just takes driving, showing up, and public comment period is typically early in the meeting, so you don't have to stay for the full meeting.
Yep.
Get up there, make your point heard, and they also, once they know people are watching, they toe the line a lot closer.
Yeah, they do. The last county meeting I went to was just a few weeks ago, and we stopped them in their tracks, myself and several others, speaking up against something I won't go into, but caught them being entirely hypocritical and inconsistent. And because we spoke up, they were about to make a decision that was, in our opinion, not a good decision and very inconsistent. And they said, wait, we're going to pull back. We need to talk about this. So that just a personal example of how we are effective when we just show up. So we need to stop thinking about it as it's somebody else's job. We have a wonderful legislator in Virginia who I'm hoping to interview soon, Nick Freitas. Man, he is good. And he's just a guy,
Yes, I watch his videos all the time.
Oh, good. There you go. You know him. I love him. He is so good. So good. So I'm thinking maybe somewhere down the line, but I have to get a few other things off my plate. I'd like to run for a county position, but anyway, Michael, this has been a very important topic. I know it's near and dear to your heart. It's affecting you directly, and it is affecting all of us indirectly and more directly than what most people actually believe or realize. So we want to encourage all of our viewers to get involved, speak up, stand up, build relationships with your farmers and your farmers markets and all of that. Get involved, and we just have to fight. We have to stand up and fight for what is right and what is rightfully ours.
Yeah, because if you don't, they're just going to keep taking the liberties away bit by bit by bit, and that's what's happening.
Where we've gotten here.
Yeah.
Apathy.
Like, how the heck did we get here?
Yeah, it's all apathy. People with that attitude of, well, they're taking care of things, I don't have to worry about it. We do have to worry about it. So great. Okay, well, we're going to close with that. But Michael, this has been a very fruitful and important discussion, and I thank you so very much for being here with us. We're hoping that this goes far and wide. We'll be doing some other interviews. John Moody owes me one or two.
Yes, he's a good interview. Yes.
We did a really good interview a few years ago, but unfortunately the neighbor started running his chainsaw.
Oh dear.
So I never could put it up.
Yeah.
Couldn't even, anyway, so we're going to come back to that too. But we'll sign off for now. Everyone, we'll see you next week. We'll be coming back with another good interview, another good topic, and we'll see you then. Thanks a lot for tuning in.